our priority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dan Grossberg.
My name is Dan Grossberg, and I come tonight as a citizen, not with a specific agenda, and not with any recommendations for specific budget ideas. I humbly offer several alternatives that I think will promote sustainable improvements to the overall fiscal health of our county. As you consider the foundation of the FY12 budget, please consider these changes to your mindset. First, focus your energy and political dialogue on the promises you've already made that can't be kept. Number two, you cannot simply raise revenue, you cannot simply cut costs. You need to make tough choices about priorities and about programs that have outlived their usefulness or that are not meeting real or current needs of the community. Third, you have the results of a reform commission in your hands and we expect you to use it. Don't Obama us by commissioning a study and then ignoring it. The first mindset change I ask you to consider: keep the commitments you've already made. Let's stop arguing about pay raises, relative contributions to retirement, collective bargaining. These are all good things. If you work for a public employee union, ask your union representatives and ask your elected officials what they plan to do to make sure the commitments that they have to you will be kept. If you're in the government, stop making commitments that you can't keep. Promises are great for campaigning, but they don't work when you actually have to govern. What nobody is talking about currently is that the current post-employment pay and benefits are not funded to the tune of $36 billion in the state of Maryland. And Montgomery County is a significant part of that. This means that you, the public employees, are counting on governments in Annapolis and in Rockville that cannot balance an annual operating budget. You're counting on them to run at a surplus of more than $1 billion a year for the next 30 years and to responsibly set aside that $1 billion every year to pay for the benefits that you've earned through today. It doesn't address any of the benefits you will earn from today forward. The second mindset shift is to make transformational investments. Tax cuts are always referred to as something the government can afford or cannot afford. And as a taxpayer, I assure you, I can afford a tax cut. Call it fees or fines or taxes, but every dollar the government takes in allows the government to defer tough choices regarding priorities. A second transformational investment would be an audit. On a $4 billion budget, Montgomery County's Inspector General's office has a budget of $600,000 and shrinking. This is less than 10% of the responsible level of audit. Third, volunteer services. On a $6 million budget to the volunteer fire service, they provide $40 million worth of fire and rescue labor every year. This budget that you're considering today proposes to cut that in half at a significant impact to the hundreds of volunteers in the field. Instead of cutting in this place, why not actually expand the capacity of volunteers to provide the excellent service they are currently delivering at no cost to the taxpayers? My third mindset change is simply to implement the restructuring advice that's in the Organizational Reform Commission's report, in particular, pay close attention to the need to, to privatize. When you have an 85% of your budget tied up in salaries, you really haven't challenged yourselves.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grossberg.